You don't want to end up like your brown dad to your children and to the loved ones around you. And I want to preface this video with the following statement that I believe our fathers did everything they could for us and provided for us. And you know that, but you also know that there are certain gaps that they were never able to learn or address that they then passed on to you. And you don't want to do the same thing. And I think that's beautiful. And I commend you for coming here and sitting here and watching this hairy guy talk to you about generational patterns in brown men. I want to I want to get right into it. So, my name is Zain. I'm the founder of Unshakable Coaching, and you don't care, I know, but I just want to let you know I have background in this. I've worked with the community for almost a decade, and by day, I'm a registered psychotherapist who runs a private practice for South Asians called Inaya Care. I'm going to get right into it because I know that you are sitting here wanting to know exactly how to not pass on those patterns, so I'm not going to edge you anymore. Let's get right into it. All right, so number one, we need to understand a simple fact, and that fact is the following. Our dads, who are they and why are they the way they are? Because if you don't understand this, getting to this place, which is you, and not having this gap and not like taking these patterns and having them into your lineage, which is your child, is very important. So we need to understand our dads on a deep level. We can't do that in this video, but I'm going to give you a very general overview on what a lot of our dads have been through so that you have a little bit more context, okay? A lot of our fathers are immigrants, and I'm going to list some of the things that they've gone through, and most of them might apply to you and your father. They're immigrants. They've gone through immigration. They've probably have a history of some form of trauma. They've also had to provide in a brand new country with a new language, which creates a lot of stress, okay? With all of this stuff going on, do you really think our fathers had time to sit there and pay attention to their emotions? Like, genuinely ask yourself, was that a privilege that they had? I don't think so. Now, does that make it okay? No, it doesn't. But does that mean we can understand them a little bit better? Yes, absolutely we can. So overall, we need to understand that our fathers have had tons of stressors in their life. They've had, even if your father is the kind of person when you feel like he's chilling, he's never had any stress, I guarantee you that there's a lot under the surface. The same with you. Because on the outside, you might have the job, you might be completely functional, but I know what you're going through inside, and it's only natural to assume that your father also has something similar because at the end of the day, he is also a human being. The biggest thing you need to understand in terms of why you don't want to become like your dad is actually not him as a person, it's how he is when he is the following word: dysregulated. And I want you to ingrain this word into your noggin because this is actually one of the cruxes. Like, this is the primary component of what it means to be someone who doesn't have those patterns. And what dysregulated essentially means, and I'm going to come back to this analogy in the video a lot, is I want you to imagine yourself like you're a car, right? And so this is like your needle of speed. But this is not just speed. This represents, let's say, 30, let's say 90. This represents your well-being on a day-to-day basis. And you know how some days you're really tired from work and you're exhausted and you're like tired, you don't want to talk to anyone. That's you at like 80, right? And some days you're completely great, you're chilling, life is good, you're happy, everything makes sense. That's you at a 40. And we can just call this the regulation scale, okay? And first I'm gonna explain to you what regulation means in terms of a general idea, and then I'll explain to you how that applies to your dad, because again, bro, he is also a human being, okay? So regulation is very simple. If this is you and this is 90, right? So this is essentially redlining it. Like you're an engine, you're redlining yourself. This is 60 and then we got 30. First, you need to understand what are the factors that lead you to a 90. And a lot of them, majority, include fatigue, stress, your diet. Diet is huge, your exercise, and other factors that are very nuanced, right? So if you've understood that, okay, when I get like stressed or tired or fatigued, and it has all of these factors in place, this moment in time where you reach 90, we're going to explore what that means in terms of your dad, and then we're going to explore what that means in terms of you, because it is right here. This 90 zone is where a lot of trauma gets passed on. And I know you don't want to traumatize your kids, but when your dad was at this 90 when he was dysregulated, that's probably when you learned there's a lot of things that you don't want to pass on, right? So we're going to explore what dysregulation really means in a much more holistic context. Now, holistic essentially means we look at it from a whole place, right? So what happens when we don't pay attention to the following? We have our body, we have our mind, and we have our, let's just say, okay, let's just stick with the mind for now, body and mind, right? So when you get to 90, bro, and this is most likely after a long day of work, you've already exhausted your body a lot, you've exhausted your mind a lot, and these two components alone can bring you to a 90 very quickly. So we need to now understand, okay, I get what you're saying. So essentially when I get tired, when I'm really tired, dysregulation is just another word for being really tired and fussy, like a child, right? Psychology guy here, and fussy, I end up at a 90. So are you telling me that my dad, when he was dysregulated, was also at a 90? Yes, my friend, that is exactly what I'm telling you. And so now we've understood, okay, when dad did certain things and he behaved in certain ways, dad was operating at a 90. Okay, so now what are these things that dad did when he was dysregulated? Okay, let's explore. Yelling, right? Comments. I wrote comments, avoidance. I'm not going to hold back. Abuse. These are all components that he did when he was dysregulated. Hopefully he was dysregulated. If that's just him as a person, I feel really bad for you. Yelling, comments, avoidance, abuse. How do these things now translate into you? What did you learn, bro? When you were a boy, when you were a little boy, because we're all little boys inside. What did you learn from dad when he was dysregulated? When he yells, I will from now on over-explain myself. When he makes comments, I will withhold the truth. When he avoids, I will either also avoid or I will over-explain and apologize. In fact, I just won't stand my ground, which is also a component of boundary setting. And when he abuses me, I will learn to tolerate it. And more often than not, I will pass it on, but I will package it in a different way. Instead of being a square, beautiful Christmas package, I'll put it in a circle. So instead of being physically abusive, I'll be emotionally manipulative. Is this video a little bit different than most YouTube videos you watch? Probably, because I spit the truth. So I'm sorry in advance if this is a little bit triggering for some of you, but unfortunately this is just the reality of the world we live in and the reality of being a brown man. Now you've understood, okay, bro, you're making a fair point. So when dad was dysregulated, he had certain behaviors that he instilled on me. Unfortunately, very sad, yes, but now I learned certain things from him. So now you have a whole array of stuff that you do when you're dysregulated. Now it's important to understand, bro, you could be a nice guy majority of the day. That doesn't necessarily make you a nice person, because human beings are dictated, the quality, I would say, of like a person or a man is not dictated by how he is when he's in a good mood, because otherwise everybody would be the most incredible person ever. It's dictated how he is when he's in a bad mood. Because the quality of a good, healthy, masculine person is, even if he's in a bad mood, even if he's dysregulated, he's still not damaging to those around him. And if you can understand this simple concept that when you're in a bad mood, you don't do bad stuff, you're way ahead of most people. So now you've understood, okay, bro, you're making sense. Okay, so dysregulation, so I just need to not be dysregulated, right? Is that what you're saying, Zain? No, that's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying at all. Because the nature of human beings, my friend, is you will have moments where you're dysregulated. That is the nature of it. We can't all be raising chickens in a chicken farm and just like be happy and in la la land. We are human beings. We're working hard in 2026 economy to try and make ends meet and be good men. And so of course the cost of that is going to be that we're going to have moments where we're dysregulated. But the question becomes, what do you do when you become dysregulated? And the easiest way to understand this is, again, I'm going to come back to that dashboard analogy. Let's say dysregulation is at 90. The easiest way for you to fix how you're approaching 90, like fix your response to 90 that I've described before, is to pay attention to what's going on here, bro. When you're revving a car to redline, when you're speeding, you're not just gonna you're not gonna put your foot on the gas and close your eyes and hope for the best. Your eyes are wide open, right? So you're noticing, oh, I got to 40. Oh, I'm at 60. So why can't we apply that same principle to our life? And that stems from something called mindfulness. What if there was a world where before you got to 90, before you lashed out, before you were frustrated and tired and angry, that little boy in you, before that happened, you were able to tell, okay, yo, I'm noticing that my shoulders are getting tight. This is from a derivative of somatic therapy, which essentially just means the body. So let's say you start noticing, yo, my shoulders are tight. Your breathing gets impacted. Yo, I'm breathing fast. And you're not there yet. Remember, you're not at 90, but you're noticing I'm breathing faster. And the quality of your thoughts. Have you ever heard of that one before? Quality of your thoughts goes down. You're like, yo, I'm starting to just like, I don't want to be around people. I'm just pissed off. And again, you're not at 90, but the quality of your thoughts is starting to, be affected. It's going down. And you're like, yo, like I feel like I'm there. So I have created a bunch of strategies called regulation strategies. It's very common. It's across the whole world, but it's a document. If you want, you can DM me. I'll give you the document. If you're able to somehow take, let's say, this is a box of tools. If you're able to take those tools and before you get to 90, implement these tools at 60, the chances of you lashing out or doing any of those activities that your dad either did do or did the opposite will decrease, because you now prevent yourself from even reaching 90 using regulation tools. You, in simple words, have the ability to notice, I'm not calm, but I'm not fully pissed. So why don't I go take care of myself so I don't lash out at people? And this is the entire principle behind every work I've done, which is put your freaking oxygen mask on first so you can be there for other people, right? So if you're able to implement these tools before you get to 90, the chances of that happening is probably going to be very low. But even in the case that you reach 90 and you do the following, so let's say you yell, you throw things, you scream, you avoid, you get quiet, whatever the things you do that you don't like, you can still use these tools to help bring yourself back to a baseline. But the overarching principle is, how do we develop the awareness to know that we're going from a 30 to a 60 and a 60 to a 90? And that all stems from mindfulness. And the biggest tool for mindfulness, the biggest way, easiest way for you to know how you feel right now in the present moment is through the following things. Number one, it's meditation. I know it sounds woo-wah. I'm not a woo-wah guy, but meditation can be very simple. It can be putting away your phone for 5 minutes and doing something which I've used for years called the self-check-in, which is also part of my program, self-check-in. Asking yourself very deep questions. Yo, how am I feeling right now emotionally? Am I okay? Is there something that's bothering me? That's all it takes to check in on yourself. Just check in on yourself, man. Like, you're doing so much.
From Zonzest 22 Ultra.
My bad. That's Alexa. You're doing so many things on a daily basis. Why don't you just check in on yourself and make sure you're good, right? And if it's not meditation, the easiest way for you to start developing what we're developing here, you have to understand, is self-awareness. And that's what our fathers lack, right? It's self-awareness. When we journal at nighttime, again, the entire crux of my program is daily journaling. When we journal, okay, easy question. Today, when did I notice I was angry? Today, when did I notice I was going to lash out? Today, when did I feel not so good about myself? And the more you do this, it becomes this loop, right? So the more you do it, the better you get at it. And at some point through this entire journey of doing it for, let's say, 90 days, you get to a place that's incredible. And it's one of the most incredible and profound things I noticed in myself, I'm extremely proud of, is the ability to monitor the quality of your thoughts. And that, in a lot of cases, requires, a good amount of therapy, a lot of like these nuanced things, a lot of hard work. But when you're going into this circle of 90, right? Let's call it like dysregulation. You're angry. Let's just say pissed, tired, frustrated. When you're so self-aware, you're able to monitor the quality of your thoughts. That's when life becomes easy. In a sense of the word, not easy, but it becomes lighter. Because suddenly, in the middle of your day, it's lunch, you're scrolling your problems away, you notice that you're not looking forward to going home. You notice you don't really want to eat. You notice, man, I feel like crap about myself. I feel fat. I feel this. I feel that. And you make the assessment that the quality of my thoughts is going down. And then what do, bro? You pull out your tools. Again, DM me for these tools. I have a bunch. You pull out your tools. Okay, what do? One of my favorite ones. And if you're too lazy to DM me or whatever, I'm gonna give you the easiest tool right now. Are you ready? Like I'm just gonna throw it your way. The art of boredom. And I can make another video on dopamine and how it all relates to this, but get bored, bro. 5 minutes, because meditation is genuinely just getting bored. 5 minutes, no phone, nothing, just get bored. And 99% of the time, you will notice that you're not calmer, you're clearer. So you're like clearly like, oh, I'm mad. So you went from I'm mad to, oh, I'm mad because my boss said this thing. That's progress, right? Being able to hone in on what's going on is still progress. So you went from being bored, like you got to get bored. That's one of the easiest tools. How? 5 minutes, no phone. Go for a walk. When you go for a walk, your prefrontal cortex is activated. Your visual system is activated. You're looking at all of the things around you. You're feeling the air. All of these things calm you down. If a lot of the terminology I use is too complex, I'm going to give it to you very straight, very like in a very tangible, easy way to digest, okay? You have to understand that before you get pissed off, before you're at a point where you're extremely triggered, you got to learn to check in on yourself. How do you learn to check in on yourself? You practice techniques that teach you to go inwards to the body so that you understand how you are truly, at a very core level of being a human being, feel. The better you get at doing that, the more tools you can deploy and not get to 90. And this whole mechanism that I've described to you alone will help you not pass on the things that your dad passed on to you. And when you work with someone good, when you work with someone equipped, they teach you what your triggers truly are. They teach you, like especially in therapy, they teach you why those triggers even happened. A lot of us are very self-aware. We know why we do certain things, but we can't get over how to not do them. Well, I've explained that to you in this video. You got to do the work. And that's why I say brown men think that they're very disciplined because they go to the gym. If it was true, you wouldn't feel the way you do, right? So the discipline comes in on when you gotta put your phone away, bro, and you gotta meditate. The discipline comes in when you gotta journal. The discipline comes in when you gotta go on that walk. And the discipline comes in when you gotta say no to things, which is another video on its own. I'm so excited for YouTube. Another video on its own on saying no. But essentially, in very simple terms, your dad was dysregulated a lot and didn't have the privilege of learning what you're learning now. And so he just did whatever his survival mechanism was telling him to do, which was lashing out, angry, avoidant, whatever it may be. You're in 2026. You've learned now through me that, oh, okay, the sauce is regulating myself as a human being. The sauce is learning what my triggers are. The sauce is doing the work. And the better you get at doing that, the more you won't pass on these things to your children. And it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. But if you gotta ask yourself, bro, doing this work is gonna lead to hopefully not passing that stuff on. And if you don't ever want to be in a position where your children are like, Dad, you're always yelling at me, you're never here. You don't want to be in a position where your partner is like, oh, you're just never around. You're like always thinking. You don't want to be in that position, right? So is the work hard? Yes. I hope this video gave you some insight. And make sure you subscribe, comment, like, do all that jazz, bro, because I'm here just for brown men. And my theory is very simple. If a brown man heals, he changes the entire generational timeline ahead of him. and he is able to change the world because of what he's learned. And I am the living proof of that.